This neighborhood is where childhood began and dreams were born.
I always felt safe living in Tucson. It was pretty quiet. There really wasn't any turmoil.
But nightmares can lie in the shadows of a tranquil street.
Sometimes a neighbor can be a neighbor from hell.
You can't sweep evil under the rug.
Get out of here!
Something inside me said something bad's gonna happen.
Just because you know something's coming doesn't mean you can get out of its way.
What the hell's the problem?
That's when he snapped.
It was something you see on TV. It wasn't something that happens to you.
I just remember hearing a loud crack.
America's heartland is peppered with tiny little hamlets like ours.
Tucson's a pretty small town. Everybody knows everybody, literally. Either friends, family.
Everybody always seemed really friendly. It's just a safe little town.
Not much can happen here that the town doesn't know within a matter of minutes. It's typical small-town America.
Kurt and Virginia Thompson have been living here for as long as anyone can remember.
Virginia Thompson was my bus driver when I was a kid.
You want another jar?
I think I'm gonna need another jar.
Kurt and Virginia were pretty independent. They like to grow their own food and do as much on their own as they could.
Okay, we're good.
We all knew Kurt as a hard-working man who earned everything he had in life.
I'll get you one of those.
His father died when he was very young, and Kurt had to quit school when he was in high school in order to go to work in order to support himself and his family.
I don't think he had many friends growing up. He spent a lot of time helping on the farm.
Virginia was Kurt's high school sweetheart. Since they married, he's never left her side.
Virginia was a very nice lady. Kurt had a very soft spot in his heart for Virginia.
How you doing? Want some help?
I recall him as a kind of lone wolf, but there were some people who did get along with him.
Kurt Thompson cared for people. If he knew you, he would help you out. If you were a friend of his, he would do almost anything for you. Someone mentioned to Kurt Thompson that his little girl was sick. This was at Christmas time. And a few nights later, he showed up on his front door wearing a Santa suit.
Thought I'd bring something to cheer you up a bit. Hope you're feeling better, okay, honey?
On the other side of the street live Jim and Janet Giesenhagen and their 10-year-old son, Sean. Jim built their house from the ground up, a stone's throw away from his mom, Ardell.
We chose that spot because my grandma lived across the alley, and they just always wanted to stay close. My dad and my grandpa and a few others actually built our house. It always felt like home, you know, because not only was it our house, it actually was our house. We put it there.
Like Kurt, Jim married the love of his life.
My sister Janet had a heart of gold. She loved everybody like they were family. Janet and Jim had a very loving relationship. They were together through everything.
The Giesenhagens were a lovely family. Jim Giesenhagen was a great volunteer, very active in the church. Janet was well regarded in the community and well liked.
As for Sean, he's happiest in the company of Kurt's dog.
My nephew Sean was rambunctious. Sean loved that dog. He went over there and he played with the dog all the time.
I was really young, you know. I like dogs. I'd be friendly.
Sorry about that. It's all right. I like dogs. Okay, thanks.
Who could foresee that such an innocent activity would eventually set off a bloodbath?
Get your hands in the air!
Though they aren't exactly friends, Jim and Janet greet the Thompsons on a daily basis.
Morning.
Their relationship was cordial. They would wave and say hi, and that was about it.
It was just neighbors being neighbors.
As Kurt heads out to work in the coal mine each day, Jim opens up the local repair shop he owns in town.
He was partners in a business. He worked on heaters and air conditioners, but he was jack of all trades. He could do just about anything.
Jim's lucky. He gets to work with his friends, like Joe Tracy.
Joe Tracy just kind of became really close in our family and dependable and very good family friend.
When not minding the store, Jim is all about togetherness. He's a black belt in karate and loves horsing around with his son. All Kurt wants after a long day is to relax and rest up for his next shift in the coal mine. Everyone lives in peace. Until one day when Sean is playing with Kurt's dog, as usual.
I was petting the dog and maybe I grabbed too hard and got bit by the dog.
My sister was upset when Curtis Thompson's dog bit Sean.
When I got home, I just remember telling her what happened. I remember getting in the car and going to the hospital. As moms do, she kind of freaked out.
Janet is scared for her son and angry that Kurt's dog wasn't tied up.
How could you let this happen?
My mom was very, very outspoken, and if she didn't like something, she'd let you know right away. When we got to the hospital, I remember getting stitches.
The bad news is, Sean's wound requires special treatment and numerous doctor examinations. The bill is massive.
My sister thought that Curtis Thompson should reimburse her for the medical attention that Sean had gotten from the doctors.
It seems reasonable enough.
Hey, what's up?
I got the medical bill here from your dog biting my son.
But Kurt sees it differently.
My dog was on my property.
Jim doesn't realize it, but he's just triggered his neighbor's deep well of anger.
Get off my property now.
Kurt.
That was definitely the beginning of the end.
The Gieshagens will regret the day they dared cross Kurt Thompson.
If you cross Kurt, you now have an enemy for life.
The Gieshagens were not going to sit idly by without putting up some fight.
You better run, buddy.
I just don't think anybody realized how far it would actually go. I think it happened so fast. Don't actually remember the exact moment.
How could you let this happen?
Kurt Thompson's fury is unleashed on his neighbors, Jim and Janet Gieshagen, when they demand he foot the bill for his dog biting their son.
Hey, what's up?
Instantly, they became Curtis Thompson's enemy.
Get off my property now.
Kurt.
Get.
So what now? What are we supposed to do now?
What's fair to the Gieshagens is an outrage to Kurt. There's no way he's going to pay their medical bills without a fight.
The Gieshagens filed a civil lawsuit for damages against Kurt Thompson.
I don't think it was a vindictive or a vendetta move. I think it was just your problem. Just take care of it and all's good.
The Gieshagens also feel they deserve payment for punitive damages and lawyer fees. Their lawsuit asks for $15,000. It's a lot of money for a coal miner.
Kurt had problems with people whom he felt slighted him or offended him in some way. I think he took an outsized view of these slights.
Despite the bite marks on Sean's face, the court sides with Kurt.
The judge was in favor of Curtis Thompson because the dog was in Curtis Thompson's yard.
I know that you like playing with the dog, but I don't want you going over there anymore.
Okay, then.
Stay away from him, too.
Jim and Janet are unhappy with the decision, but they're ready to put it all behind them.
I think they just tried to move on with their everyday life.
But Kurt's not about to forgive and forget the losses he suffered at the hand of the family across the street.
Kurt Thompson had to spend money to hire an attorney to defend him on something he didn't feel like he was responsible for. I've heard $20,000, I've heard $30,000. It wouldn't have mattered if it was $10. Kurt Thompson still would have resented it.
And his most bitter loss means a lot more to Kurt than just money.
I remember hearing that he had to put the dog down after it bit me.
Ever since then, Curtis Thompson had a vendetta.
I would say the shift in behavior was instant. It just felt different. Just a feeling you get when something's not the same or not right.
Hey, get out of here!
I'm getting the mail.
Get the hell out of here!
Kurt can't seem to shake his grudge.
They made an enemy for life in Kurt Thompson.
Suddenly, the lone wolf across the street is showing his teeth. He starts following Jim through town in his truck.
After I was bitten by Kurt's dog, it seemed like harassment was constant. When he would follow my dad, it was just always a reminder of what happened. You know, we wanted to move on and he wanted to stay in the past.
He would just glare and give them real dirty, mean looks.
Kurt's always had a temper. But now he's in a constant state of rage, lashing out at people all over town.
Hey, you! Huh? You! Always somebody looking for trouble, isn't there?
Kurt had a reputation around town just being a natural bully. He had no problem, you know, being mean to people.
And I started hearing stories from people around town that he threatened people, and he actually got in some physical confrontations with a few people. Some of those stories included him beating up a man at a car dealership. There's a story about him getting in a fist fight with a guy at a school ball game.
Did I ask you to come to my place?
There had been a report of him chasing a guy down the street once.
Keep going! Got it?
People didn't want to deal with Kurt because of his unusual, erratic behavior, and they understandably avoided him.
Normally, people would band together and deal with the problem, but when it came to somebody who they considered on the fringe of crazy, the community didn't band together. They just decided to ignore this one. They were afraid if they reported him that they would go on to his hate list.
We'd try and avoid that side of the street. Even if we had to walk extra, it was just easier than having to deal with the possibility of running into him. It was like you just wanted to put a caution strip around the whole area and just know to stay away.
The more aggressive Kurt gets, the more his wife, Virginia, shrinks from view. We almost never see her. Years go by, and nothing changes. Kurt still considers the Giesenhagens enemies because of the dog bite incident.
It definitely scared me. He just had that look. It was just worrisome.
Sorry, go on.
But Janet needs to collect her mail. And at 5 months pregnant, she's more vulnerable than ever.
She was very scared, very scared.
She was just going to get the mail one time, and all of our mailboxes were actually right in front of his property.
Hey, you!
Kurt chased my mom with a baseball bat and then stopped and went back to his house. I think it was just the fear tactic. You know, your area's over there, not over here.
It takes the physical threat of Kurt Thompson to a whole new level.
Janet told me about him chasing her with a baseball bat. She was pregnant with Ashley, so she then became very afraid of him.
Jim and Janet are conflicted. Do they report Kurt to the authorities? Poking the bear could just make matters worse.
I think there was definitely a feeling within my parents that, you know, if they tried to push the issue, that it could be a lot worse. And I think they were just trying to keep it as calm as possible.
But they live in fear of Kurt's inevitable next act of intimidation.
On the day that Ashley was born was the best day of my sister and brother-in-law's life. Especially my brother-in-law, Jim, because he always wanted a daughter. Ashley was the apple of his eye.
While Jim and Janet and their friends gather to celebrate the arrival of baby Ashley, Kurt makes sure they know he hasn't forgotten their feud.
It was basically him saying, still here, you didn't get rid of me, you're not gonna get rid of me. Like, I'd get goosebumps and just natural fear.
It looks like Kurt Thompson will never let his neighbors live in peace.
Stay away from my family.
Mr. Thompson wasn't used to people that wouldn't back away from him.
What the hell's your problem? Something inside me that something bad's gonna happen.
Hey, get out of here.
Sometimes the neighbor next door can be a neighbor from hell.
Yeah, you better run, buddy.
Everybody knew that Kurt had a short fuse and a bad temper. He would pick a fight, or he wouldn't back away from a fight at any time. "13
long years have passed since the dog bite incident. But Kurt Thompson's campaign of fear and intimidation against the Giesenhagens continues to haunt our neighborhood.
I just thought he was this weird guy that lived across the street. I didn't want to go near him. He didn't have to say anything. I just didn't want to be around him. I was scared of him. I was told if Kurt Thompson was ever around to go inside.
Come on, honey.
Just get to someplace safe. Because they weren't sure whether or not he was going to do anything to me. No one had any idea what he was capable of.
Kurt's temper has worsened through the years, and it's just cost him his job at the mine.
Thompson had been fired 9 times, but had to be rehired 8 times because he knew union contract better than the union knew it and better than the company officials knew it.
It's another blow that fuels Kurt's perpetual rage against the Giesenhagens. And the whole town has to suffer his legendary hate stare.
The stare that Mr. Thompson had was just very piercing eyes, just a very stern, menacing look on his face.
It was very clear what he was conveying through his eyes and through his demeanor. And it was very frightening, even to an adult.
The problem is, no one in Toulon is willing to stand up to him.
My job was very difficult because he would do things to people, but no one would ever want to sign a complaint and go into court. They were all afraid of Mr. Thompson's reputation.
It means the town bully is free to turn up his scare tactics at will. Sean's living on his own now, but Kurt tracks him down at work.
Kurt Thompson would follow me in his truck when I was a cart pusher. He would kind of just creep around corners, and he would just follow me wherever I went. I just felt trapped everywhere I went. It sucked.
That idiot still hasn't left me alone. I don't even know what to do anymore.
The fact that one of Sean's co-workers is Kurt's wife, Virginia, only makes things more tense.
I remember waking up on days and going, okay, what's gonna happen today?
I don't remember there being any good times with Kurt Thompson at all. Things kind of escalated when I was in 4th grade. My mom didn't want me walking by myself to school, so she walked with me. We were coming to a corner and getting ready to stop and cross the street.
Curtis Thompson came at him with the truck. She didn't think he was going to stop.
I thought we were going to get hit. It's almost like he wanted to show us that he could have control over us.
This is getting serious. We need to do something.
I'm not letting him chase us away from here.
The Giesenhagens are pushed to the limit.
It was kind of starting to get crazy.
We can't leave my mother here alone. The reason we built this house is to be close to her.
My sister just wanted to move out of Toulon, and she became very frightened of him, very scared.
I remember my mom and dad talking extensively on the fear there could be a violent outcome.
Despite their grave concerns, they refused to let anyone chase them away from their home.
They were trying to stand their ground and trying to stick up for themselves.
Jim and Jet vow to do all they can to keep their little girl safe.
After almost getting hit by Kurt Thompson, I was always driven to school. He'd follow us the entire way there. It definitely made me feel afraid and worried that something was going to happen.
There's only so much torment a family can take. Jim's mother, Ardell, refuses to stand by and let Kurt destroy the neighborhood she's lived in her entire life.
At that time, Ardell just had had enough, and she stood up to him.
Kurt Thompson, stay away from my family.
It's the last thing a bully expects.
Mr. Thompson wasn't used to people that wouldn't bow down to him or back away from him.
I'm not afraid of you.
I'm gonna kill all of you one of these days.
Kurt threatened to kill my mom, my dad, my grandma. He was a mean son of a...
It's terrifying for the whole family. And after years of implied threats, Kurt's finally given the Giesenhagens a reason to call the police. Ardell provides a passionate written statement.
How long are we going to allow one man to terrorize the community? I just keep praying for our safety and for the right thing to be done, and stop this nonsense before someone gets hurt bad or killed.
But once again, their efforts to get help are stonewalled.
You've got to do something. They took their complaints to the state's attorney, and they did nothing. They told them to stay in their own yard, avoid him, like they told many people in the town. That's Curtis Thompson. Just stay away from him.
In our society, fear is not legal. You can be scared of someone, but without an actual physical action. There's supposedly nothing that law enforcement can do.
For Giesenhagens, living in constant dread is like no life at all.
Things got so bad that they did feel trapped in their own home.
Is he there? No. No sign of him. Let's go.
I almost felt like I couldn't get away. It was very hard to go do anything without being worried about him following you or worried that he might do something.
There wasn't a lot of steps that my mom and dad could take.
Jim was worried because although Jim was a black belt in karate, he knew that Curtis Thompson also had weapons and a temper. Jim was afraid that Curtis was very capable of killing them.
And it's not just the Giesenhagens who feel his wrath. Kurt Thompson has widened his circle of hate to include Jim's friend and co-worker, Joe Tracy.
What do you want?
Once Mr. Thompson became upset with the Giesenhagens, Joe became the enemy.
What begins as a low-level encounter in town becomes a frightening ordeal on a quiet country road.
In southern part of Stark County, Joe Tracy drove past Kurt Thompson. Kurt Thompson followed him, passed his van in his truck, and then pulled the truck across the road so that Joe could not pass.
Joe definitely wasn't one to back down.
What the hell's your problem?
Kurt Thompson got out of the truck and threatened Joe Tracy with a claw hammer.
I'm gonna beat the living crap out of you.
A confrontation between two men on a deserted back road is about to trigger a chain of events that will ignite a powder keg of violence.
People of Toulon were in shock.
I just don't know why it had to come to this.
This kind of thing had never happened in Stark County before.
What the hell's your problem?
Kurt Thompson not only hated everyone in the Giesenhagen family, he hated everyone who worked for them or had any association with them or was friends with them.
Kurt's hate is erupting and spreading. He confronts Jim Giesenhagen's best friend, Joe Tracy, on a country road outside Toulon.
Curtis Thompson came after Joe Tracy with a hammer.
I'm gonna beat the living crap out of you.
Kurt chases Joe for miles before finally bearing off. None of us knew if he was just sending a message or starting to lose control.
When I look back now, there were definitely signs that things were getting worse and there was going to be a bad ending.
Unlike most folks in town, Joe is willing to stand up to Kurt and go on the record.
I'm done with it.
He reported that incident to the Stark County Sheriff, and charges of assault were filed by the Stark County State's Attorney.
The sheriff arrests Kurt at his home. And the Giesenhagens believe this is finally the thing that will put the bully behind bars.
Janet and Jim made statements on Joe Tracy's behalf about how dangerous he was.
But the system lets them down again. The court only finds their neighbor guilty of a misdemeanor assault. He's fined a mere $116 plus court costs.
Kurt Thompson was placed on probation for a period of 24 months, and he was ordered to have no contact with the Giesenhagen family and no contact with Joe Tracy or his family.
A restraining order is nothing to a man like Kurt Thompson.
It made his hatred grow. Kurt was a ticking time bomb.
If anything, he redoubles his intimidation tactics, circling the Giesenhagen home day and night like a shark.
I felt very trapped at home, and I was anxious because I wanted to be able to go out and go across the street to my friend's house. And then when all that started, I couldn't. And I remember being angry, scared, anxious. Things were escalating very fast.
Jim and Janet are desperate for help. We started to wonder, are they desperate enough to take matters into their own hands?
I remember my dad putting up like a security camera on the garage. They sensed there was potential for violence. Everybody was expecting him to crack. They wanted something done about it before it happened.
My dad captured footage several times of Kurt going up and down the driveway and in the alley.
I see the footage. It's quite...
The couple hopes the footage will spur police into action.
Make me feel safe.
Technically, he's not breaking the law.
Nothing was ever done because they told us it was a public transportation route.
There's nothing that you can do.
No, he's not on your property.
Kurt Thompson knew how to push the envelope to its very limits.
My parents were disgusted that our police force did absolutely nothing. I think the police were actually scared. I think they thought that there would be a snapback on them.
In dealing with Mr. Thompson, I was never in fear of him, but I was always at a heightened awareness. Always the nagging little voice, don't turn your back on him.
Jim and Janet try everything, but cannot convince authorities their family is in imminent danger.
My mom and dad were very discouraged.
It was very frustrating because they knew that things were escalating and he was going to snap. He was going to snap any moment.
Finally, on a cold spring evening, Everyone's worst fears are realized.
On March 22nd, 2002, I remember it just being any other day.
Good night, Sean.
My parents were supposed to be going out with Joe and Tracy out for pizza, like every Friday. My mom was actually sick, and they decided not to go.
We decided just to stay in and watch movies, and I believe my mom had a cold, so we didn't really want to have to go anywhere.
Across the way at Kurt Thompson's house, everything is likewise unremarkable, until a squad car from the Stark County Sheriff's Office shows up. 23-year-old Adam Stryker is on duty. He's a new deputy sheriff who's only been on the job a few months.
There's no one that didn't like Adam. He just had that big smile and a heart of gold.
That's all he ever dreamt, you know, his whole life was to be a police officer and to help the communities that he, you know, worked and lived in. It wasn't such a bad deal to get pulled over by Deputy Stryker because he always was very nice and polite.
Adam was the only deputy on duty in Stark County for the whole county. Adam seen there was warrants that needed to be delivered.
One of the outstanding warrants has been buried in the files of the sheriff's office for over 5 months. It seems Kurt Thompson still hasn't paid his fine for his threats against Joe Tracy.
Kurt Thompson failed to appear in court. The judge then issued a warrant for his arrest.
Adam didn't know Kurt Thompson. He didn't know his reputation. It's a 60-year-old man. Just a $100 fine is all he owed. I don't believe he thought anything about it.
Deputy Stryker knocked on the door. Kurt Thompson came to the door. Deputy Stryker told him, "You're under arrest. There's been a warrant that's been issued for your arrest."
What happens next plunges our town into an abyss, scarring all of us to this day.
He backed up into the house. He reached for his sawed-off shotgun. He pointed it at Deputy Adam Stryker. Thompson fired the shotgun.
Kurt Thompson shot and killed my brother at point-blank range.
After years of barely contained murder threats, Kurt has finally tasted blood. Now he's on a mission to spill more.
Kurt Thompson kicked my brother to see if he was alive, and then took his 9mm gun off of his hip. Proceeded to get in my brother's squad car.
He's ready to cross some names off his hate list, and he won't be satisfied until his #1 enemies are eradicated.
And then that's when he kicked in our door.
It was a tragic, horrible event.
I remember Kurt looking at me with just this blank look.
Kurt Thompson was a loaded gun waiting to go off.
It was like something you see on TV. It wasn't something that happens to you or your family.
After gunning down Stark County Deputy Sheriff Adam Stryker for serving him an arrest warrant, Kurt Thompson is in a murderous rage. He now sets his sights on the Giesenhagens, his neighbors and nemesis for almost 16 years.
Kurt was just lashing out at the world around him and wanted to get even with the people he thought had wronged him.
For a family enjoying a quiet Friday night at home, there's no warning of what's to come.
I remember my dad was going to go down to the basement for something, and I just remember wanting to go down there to help.
Kurt Thompson got out of that Stark County squad car with his sawed-off shotgun in hand.
And then that's when he kicked in our door.
Once inside, Kurt enacts his merciless revenge.
I just remember hearing a loud crack.
Kurt Thompson shot Jim Giesenhagen, killing him almost instantly.
I remember Kurt looking at me with just this blank look. He just had a blank expression on his face. I remember just seeing my dad laying there. Lots of blood. Even being a little kid, you knew when you saw that much blood and you saw somebody just laying there not moving, that something was seriously wrong. And I had this gut feeling that he wasn't going to be waking up. And then I just waited until I thought he was gone. And then that's when I finally went upstairs and saw my mom in the kitchen.
Bleeding out from a shotgun wound, Janet fights for her life in front of her 10-year-old daughter.
I just remember her laying there. She was trying to talk to me, and I was trying to keep her conscious. And then all she asked for was a pillow, so I gave her a pillow and helped her put it underneath her head, and then I remember calling my grandma.
Hurry! I'll be right there. I'll be right there. Hang on.
I love you, Mommy. You too.
Kurt has left a blood-spattered slaughterhouse in his wake.
After shooting Jim and Janet Giesenhagen, Kurt Thompson got back into the Stark County squad car belonging to Deputy Adam Stryker. He left the red lights flashing and he began driving around town. He drove through the alley behind Joe Tracy's house. Fortunately, Joe Tracy and his family were not home that evening.
By now, terrified neighbors called the police, and they're out in full force, looking for a killer on the rampage.
This was a surreal setting for a town like Toulon, and might have been more natural on the main streets of Chicago.
In a place of this size, it's mere minutes before police track down the stolen squad car with Kurt Thompson at the wheel.
A police officer decided to block Thompson in the vehicle he was driving, and I pulled up behind him and boxed his car in.
Kurt, drop your weapon. Get your hands in the air.
There was a very loud gunshot. I noticed something stinging my face and realized shots were being fired at me.
Taylor returns Thompson's fire in a deadly shootout.
It was the first time and only time in my career that I'd been involved in a shooting situation. And everything seemed to happen in slow motion.
Gunfire blazes until there's no movement in the hijacked squad car.
I didn't know if Thompson might have been playing possum and was faking being injured. We rushed the car and pulled Mr. Thompson out from behind the wheel. And we did note that he did have a gunshot wound.
Minutes later, a rescue helicopter lands on the Stark County High School football field.
Janet Giesenhagen was transported to that location and loaded on the Life Flight helicopter. She suffered a shotgun blast to the upper chest. She had thrown her hand up. The shotgun blast had come through her wrist and virtually severed her left hand at the wrist. Kurt Thompson was loaded on the Life Flight helicopter as well.
Sadly, Kurt Thompson is the only injured passenger to survive.
Unfortunately, Janet Giesenhagen died during that flight and was dead upon arrival in Peoria.
They told me on the phone that they're both gone. I just remember falling to my knees and my husband picking me up and holding me and weeping as well. We both wept in each other's arms.
I don't know if you can actually explain the feelings that were going through my mind when I first heard. I remember the first cop I seen, I couldn't even tell you who it was, but looking at him and going, I hope you're happy, this is all your fault. My blame was completely on the Toulon Police Department.
Homemade signs in the windows of the local newspaper speak to the horror and anguish that shroud the town.
This was a pretty sad day in the history of Toulon. The community was in shock, and shock later changed to anger and grief.
All of us should have done more to prevent this terrible tragedy.
For the family of Deputy Sheriff Adam Stryker, who was simply doing his job, there is only the memory of a boy who always knew what he wanted to be.
We'll never have closure. Every day I remember something that Adam said or did or ate or liked or watched.
One thing that, I think people need to realize is that, my brother was getting paid $10 an hour to serve the community. And Adam was doing it because he loved what he did. And he loved helping people. And my brother didn't deserve this.
Facing 3 counts of first-degree murder, Kurt Thompson shows no remorse during his trial.
He would stare at us the entire time. Anytime he would look at Virginia, he would give her a thumbs up like everything's gonna be okay and I'll get out of this.
But the killer's insanity plea falls flat. He's found guilty of all the homicides.
When the judge read that he sentenced him to death, all of us family members, the Giesenhagens and the Strikers, we all stood together with our thumbs up that you didn't get away with it, Kurt Thompson.
After the trial, Virginia Thompson was diagnosed with terminal cancer. She died in 2008 while Kurt Thompson was on death row. So 2 days after he received the news, Kurt Thompson hanged himself in his cell.
For Jim and Janet's children, all that's left is the struggle to carry on.
I know they say time heals all wounds, but coming back from something like that is a lot harder. If I can talk to my parents, I'd say that I still love them and that I really wish they would be here to meet my son.
Something I'll always carry with me, because if I wouldn't have got bit by a dog, it would have never happened.